Michael, there's a growing momentum to reinvigorate education in this country about America's founding principles and history. Share with us your thoughts about why this is so important for students to learn more about the country's founding and its history.
Well, I think it's essential for American students to learn about the founding and America's heritage. We have a unique national story. We have a founding moment, or moments, for a period of time, 1774 and then to the 1790s and the Bill of Rights. We have, an absolutely stellar cast of characters, of people of great intellectual ability and personal integrity, and people who risked all.
The American Revolution has long been viewed as one of the signal events in the development of the modern West. The Declaration of Independence, after all, seems to closely reflect the writings of the political philosopher John Locke, a thinker who is regarded by many as one of the main figures in the development of modern liberalism. In the past, however, you've written that the founders, to the contrary, were not modern men so much, but the representatives of classical republicanism, and I'm wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Well, the founders, I think, expected the leaders to be more like themselves, more or less heroic individuals with a classical kind of conception of leadership. You're not going to be in government to make money out of it. You're not trying to exploit office for the sake of your own careers. You're supposed to be devoted to the public.
The Founding Fathers weren't writing on a blank slate. They were people who came from a certain part of history. They thought of themselves initially as Englishmen. Benjamin Franklin spent most of the 20 years before the American Revolution living in London, as a matter of fact, and begged the English ministers not to give the colonists cause to want to separate themselves from Britain. When he failed in this, he returned to Philadelphia and joined the Revolution. But they were coming from a particular heritage.
Was not Franklin one of the first great examples of the modern notion of the self-made man?
The conception of the self-made man is really, and with Franklin at the center of it, is really an invention of the 19th century. Businessmen in the 1820s and 30s needed a hero to justify their rise, and they could not find that hero in Jefferson or Washington, who were, after all, aristocratic slaveholders, but they could find it in the printer, Franklin.
How do you see America 10 years from now? More of a hard America or a soft America?
Well, in my book, Hard America, Soft America, I defined hard America as the portions of life, American life, where you have competition and accountability. And soft America is where you don't. And the balance between hard and soft America changes over time. I mean, I've regarded our K through 12 education system largely as a soft system, not requiring much competition or accountability by either students or teachers. And I was really prompted to write the book by the observation that it seemed to me American 18-year-olds are incompetent, but American 30-year-olds are the most competent 30-year-olds in the world.
Would it be possible for a figure like George Washington to reappear on the American political scene?
There's no possibility of us having a Washington. We live in a very different world, a much more democratic world than Washington's world, and it's very unlikely that anyone like him will appear again.
We have a unique story to tell. It's not a matter of us bragging that we're so wonderful, it's that we stand on the shoulders of giants, that we are fortunate enough to be the inheritors of a great heritage by some really extraordinary men, in which some extraordinary women played a part as well.
But I do think historians have an obligation, at the same time as they're advancing the discipline, to reach out to the general public, to tell them the story of the country's history, or what's happened, how we got to be the way we are. We're not physics. We're not that kind of where you can write your papers for each other. We need to reach out to the general public, and I think most historians simply are not doing that. They're caught up in issues that concern them and are not necessarily the issues that concern the general public.
I think that to neglect the founding period is to neglect something that is extremely important in the history of our government, on which every citizen should want at some time or another to reflect. Because the principles that the founders stood for, the arguments that they made, the dilemmas that they confronted and attempted to deal with. Those are full of instruction for all of us.